My book, Spirituality Before Religions.
Yeah.
Don't believe me? Go on Amazon and look at the reviews.
Yes.
Look at what people are saying about the book.
Yes.
And let me the judge. I don't want to sell it. I want people who have been impacted by it to sell it.
Mm.
Same thing with Shabaka Stone. Same thing with Professor William Leo Hansberry. I'm about ready to bring out a children's book on Shabaka Stone sometime before the end of Shabaka Stone for children.
Mm.
Don't believe me. I don't write books because I'm a writer. I write books because I got something to say.
Mm. Yes.
So we just got to get this together, Brother Caleb.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
What
just, you know, sitting back, analyzing things, right? Just seeing. And I think something that you said that was so poignant was collaboration over competition. And I think for me, I've never been able to grasp that concept of why us as melanated people sometimes, especially, you know, here in America, feel like we have to compete with each other when we can go so much further together. So I think it's just, you know, me just trying to analyze and see how we can come as one and really just make this process even faster of being where we need to be even sooner. And I guess I can ask as well, how do we fight that concept, right? And I know that that probably derives from the plantation of not trying to see a person that's just like you, who looks like you, who's doing similar things as someone who's a threat. Instead of, yo, this person is a tool just like I'm a tool for them, so we can overcome this system that's rigged against us.
Well, one thing is that if you want to go back to Kanye, okay, brother jumped out with a White Lives Matter t-shirt with Candace Owens.
Hotep, Dr. Kaba, how you doing?
Hotep to my brother Caleb. Everything is excellent, brother. How about you?
Good. You know, man, it's always a pleasure, a blessing, you know, to be able to chop it up with you. So I appreciate you.
No doubt. And you, my brother. I look forward to this conversation.
Yes, sir. Ashe. Dr. Kaba from, you know, scrolling on Instagram, always seeing you being stylish, of course. Muramani Apparel, I was able to talk to them actually, and just seeing like that motto, it sparked something in me, right? From the pyramids to the plantation, to the projects, progress, and then eventually to the promised land. And from seeing that caption, it sparked something in me because I know that, you know, so many times we can either get too caught up in the past, too caught up in the present where, you know, we could have debates and not thinking about our future and how our past can impact our future as well. So tonight's conversation is just us exploring our past, our present, and how we can impact our future. So with all that being said, I'll let you do what you do and just, you know, open it up with a framing question of how can we use our past from the pyramids to the plantation to the projects to then impact our future to the promised land.
You know, it's interesting because throughout my career, as you know, Brother Caleb, I focused on children, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that I always get from children is pretty much the same question I get from most people. And that is, why culture? Why do I need to know this?
Yeah.
You know, like in terms of getting a job, paying my rent, you know, taking care of myself and my family. What role does culture play? What is the importance of this? And, you know, they say to me, you know, you spend as they became more advanced, you know, they say you spend so much time teaching culture.
Yeah.
Why? You know, all the things that you could have done, that you could have focused on, that you could have been successful in. Why did you spend your life dealing with culture? And I go back to something that I've heard Dr. Wade Noble's brilliant brother from California. He said that culture is to a human as water is to a fish.
Wow. You
live in it, you breathe it, you eat in it, you do everything in your life in water. And that's what culture is to us as a people. This is what culture is to all people, your cultural background. And I then would tell the children, went to Target with my grandson, and at the time he was into Nerfs, right? And all of a sudden I saw a Nerf that was a slingshot. And I've often used that analogy of the slingshot as to why culture is important and why the past is important. And the idea is that in a slingshot, you put a projectile into the sling and you pull it back. The further you pull it back, the further in front of you, you're going to project it.
That's right.
And that is what the past is to us. The further back I can pull you, your mind, the further back I can pull you in the past, the further into the future I can propel you.
Wow.
And that became so important to me in terms of understanding the role of the past. And one of the fundamental principles in military science is that one of the things that a person will do to oppress you is three things. Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop tells us in Civilizational Barbarism, his book. He has a chapter called Why Cultural Identity. He said that the further that they can take your history, and this doesn't apply just to black folk. This applies to anybody you wish to oppress. The Russians are doing it to the Ukrainians right now.
Wow.
Okay, so that's how deep this gets, that it's not such a black-white thing as it is a human thing.
Yeah.
When someone wishes to oppress you, there are three things that they will take from you: your history, your language, and your psychological factor. Your psychological factor, according to Dr. Leonard Jeffries, brilliant scholar here in New York, is your VIPs, your values, your interests, and your principles. And after they take your history, your language, your values, interests, and principles from you, they then superimpose and force on you their history, their language, their values, interests, and principles. And so in your life, whatever decision you make will never be in your best interest because you're looking at the world through someone else's eyes.
Yeah.
And so that culture and history plays a very important part. In fact, Dr. Diop says, even if you have a horrible history, it's better than having no history.
Wow.
And what has happened to us as a people, Brother Caleb, and to those who are tuned with us, is that in taking our personhood, Dr. Clark used to always say, if the European were to return to the African, to you, to me, the first thing they stole from you, they would return you to you. Because the first thing they stole from you was you.
Wow.
The very nature of who you are. They took you out of your cultural understanding, which is like taking a fish out of water. You heard the term, man, I was acting like a fish out of water.
Right. Yes, sir.
Which means you didn't know where you were going. You didn't know your purpose in life. You didn't understand anything.
Wow.
And so culture becomes a cornerstone to who we are as a people. And the further back in the past that you can go, the further you can go into the future. But you are doing it in the present. You're standing, pulling back, hoping to go forward. A prophet is not a psychic. A prophet is just a very good historian. Because when you know what happened in the past, you can interpret what's happened in the present and predict what's going to happen in the future. Just like as I'm observing what's going on all around us right now, whatever it may be, what's going on in Africa, what's going on in Europe, what's going on in Asia, what's going on here in the United States, I can tell you how this is going to end up. I can't tell you through psychic ability. I can only tell you through historical knowledge and wisdom. We've been through this before, man. Mark Twain said that, we often say that, history repeats itself. But Mark Twain said, well, he had a different view towards that. It's not that history repeats itself, but it does rhyme. You see, Afghanistan was not Vietnam, but it certainly did rhyme. Different set of different standards, situations, all to cases. So, Brother Caleb, this is where we are right now as a people, and we are going to have to make some very dramatic and dynamic decisions in our life as to where we're going to go.
Right.
And to me, one of the first things that I've established is I am Black first.
Yes, sir.
The decisions that I'm making as it relates to things in my life, I'm making as if I were a brother or sister standing on the corner of 121st Street or somewhere on the block in Atlanta, making a decision. Not me, who I am as a person. Yeah. Because, brother, I've been blessed in my life. I've been blessed in so many different ways, even growing up in the project, being presented with all of the dilemmas that many of my brothers and sisters that they were exposed to. I could have made decisions in my life that could have turned out totally different to where I am right now.
Wow.
But through blessings in so many different ways of being in the right place at the right time, around the right people, having a phenomenal set of parents, my mother and father, dynamic African Americans, having a phenomenal sister, older than me, guiding me, always reminding me what it was really that I was about. I've been very fortunate. I've been able to get a job as a New York City teacher. I've gone through a process. I got a retirement plan. I'm blessed. But if my people ain't right, I'm not right.
That's right.
And that's how I feel.
That's right.
No matter what I may have. I don't believe in this nonsense when I hear people talk about, well, if I did it, they can do it. That's not true. And I know that. I grew up with brothers and sisters. And when I go back to the project where I grew up, or if I see people that I grew up that turned out a different way than myself, I know what they went through. I know the options that they had. But by the grace of God, there go I. I could have been the same way.
That's right. That's right.
And I've never forgotten that, Caleb. We can never forget our people. Just because we escaped on the Underground Railroad don't mean that we're not going to go back to the plantation and pull our people through. I'm a Harriet Tubman kind of guy.
Yes, sir.
And that's what that's the role that the past plays for us.
I love that. I love that. Dr. Kaba, you said a heavy bar, as usual, of if I made it, then you can make it. And so often we'll have Black billionaires, millionaires, and, you'll have white people say, well, Oprah, she did it. Jay-Z did it. Kanye, he did it. And oftentimes as well, we will have that inner white mind that, we will battle as Black people sometimes of not knowing who we are sometimes, or sometimes knowing who we are and avoiding our people and not going back to that plantation. I know more recently we had somebody like Kanye, Black billionaire, who wears a White Lives Matter shirt. How do we make sure that our Black elite sometimes don't forget us on the plantation and come back to the people?
I'm doing a webinar. I'm developing it as we speak, Brother Caleb. There is something known as the imposter syndrome.
Yes. Yes.
And I've done some deep study in that. My daughter was the one that really began to express it, talk about it in different ways. And I asked her about it, and she was explaining to me what it was from her perspective. And again, this goes back to a dilemma that we face as a people. The very best way that I could describe it, for anyone that would like to kind of get deep inside of it and to understand it, is when our phenomenal, beautiful, brilliant, genius sister, Whitney Houston, joined the ancestors. I remember watching her funeral. It was on TV. And I remember that of the many people that spoke, the one eulogy that really took me was the one given by Kevin Costner. It's about 20 minutes in length. And he talked about when he wanted her to be in The Bodyguard. Basically, what he was expressing was that she did not feel that she was good enough to take that role. She didn't know if she could do it. Now, when you see the bodyguard in her acting, when you hear the soundtrack album,
Yeah.
I Will Always Love You.
Yeah.
When you hear that sister's voice, she was an extraordinary artist. And she was a beautiful human being that caught a disease. But that is the imposter syndrome. And this is what has happened to us as an African people. When they took our history and they took our language and they took our values, interests, and principles, and they superimposed their own over us. Basically, the imposter syndrome is that no matter how great you are, you always put yourself in a lower position to put other people above you.
Wow.
You might come out of a sports game. You might come out of a song. You might come out of a phenomenal activity, such as the inventions of George Washington Carver. But in this civilization that deals with what we consider to be white supremacy, which I don't like the term because it's an oxymoron, because there is nothing superior about being white.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not speaking spiritually or humanly. I'm talking about science. I'm talking about everything that is white is recessive.
Yeah.
And everything that has color is melanated. Now, I want to be clear in what I'm saying, because I know that there are many brothers and sisters who may not have a lot of pigment in the skin.
Yeah.
And they ask me, well, where does that leave me? Your skin is the largest organ on your body. Melanin is in every organ and gland in your body. It's in every part of your body. So that you may have not much melanin in the skin, but you may be melanin rich in your internal organs and glands, in your neuromelanin in the brain.
Right.
And so I want to ensure that we understand what I'm talking about when I'm dealing with these concepts. They have made, and even to the point, the one thing that I found out in the movie about good hair, I didn't see it, but I heard about it. Women of European descent spend more money turning their brown and black hair blonde than black folk do straightening it.
Wow.
Everybody is reaching towards the blonde blue eye, not realizing that, as J.A. Rogers, the great scholar, told us, when you strip brown sugar of its protein and nutrients, it becomes white sugar. When you strip brown rice of its nutrients and its proteins, it becomes white rice. We could extend that to animals and end with us.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not speaking about superiority, inferiority. I'm speaking about dominant gene and recessive gene. And so that becomes important. Sherry, can I get the water, please? And I think that as we begin to move to understand the imposter syndrome, no matter how great we are, we tend to always think we're not that good.
Yeah.
We always think that their ice is colder than black ice.
Man. Yeah. Wow.
And so I say all of this because when it comes to Brother Kanye, I wish that somebody was in his life that could have guided him. This brother has issues. You know, my brother Caleb, in working with children, I've had the distinct honor of working with some of the most brilliant minds that I've ever known. But I also know that there is a stark difference between academic intelligence and emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
I have known students that never get below a 95 or 100 on the test, pass all the tests, but they're emotionally unstable. I have known young brothers and sisters who barely can get 65, but they're the future leaders of the planet. There's a difference.
Yes.
When we see a genius such as Kanye, when we see a genius such as Whitney Houston or Prince or Michael Jackson, we give them a platform that allows them to be able to present themselves as it relates to emotional stability, as if they're as much a genius in their emotions as they are in their gift. And they're not. They're unstable.
Wow.
And so when we see that he has millions of followers, if we could separate the genius from the emotional stability, we'd be able to handle. I like Kanye in where he is a genius. But I also know brother need help.
Yeah.
The same thing with Walker, Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
In his skill, ain't nobody better. I'll give you another example, which I learned a lot about. And I have to tell you, it was a great lesson to learn. And it was a brother that I had just a phenomenal amount of respect for. I've seen documentaries here in New York years ago when he was on a program called Like It Is. He was interviewed. And this brother was just a genius. And people from around the world would come to have their children be in his care as related to brain surgery.
Yeah.
I saw the brother, he played classical music, you know, because I'm into classical music. Yeah. Classical music is black music. Black folk brought the piano into Europe, okay? And I get a kick out of when I hear people say, well, that's white people music. No, that's not white people music. That's black people that white people tried to do.
That's right.
But be that as it may, and Beethoven was a brother, but be that as it may. As I began to listen to him, I used to, when I taught language arts, 8th grade language arts, I used his book, Gifted Hands, as one of the books to be read. And just gotten into, I showed them because at the time you could copy VCR.
Yep.
And I would show the children this great man.
Wow.
There's a whole story about him in the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. As it relates to his abilities as a surgeon. He taught me an invaluable lesson. And the lesson that Dr. Ben Carson taught me was that an absolute genius in one lane can become an absolute fool in another.
Wow.
I learned that.
Wow.
I wish Herschel Walker had learned that. I wish Kanye had learned that. Admire his skill. I have not lost my admiration for Ben Carson's skill in brain surgery. I didn't cancel him. You know, I didn't throw the baby out with the bathtub.
Right.
I respect and honor and understand the genius that Herschel Walker had on the football field. I understand the genius that Kanye had in the musical field and in the music production and producing field. I understand that and I still respect that. But I would never follow him emotionally. I would never follow what he's doing. What he is doing is he is spinning out of control.
Yeah.
I think one of the greatest jurists that we have, and I know folk are going to check me on this too, but I have to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that Justice Clarence Thomas is brilliant, but emotionally, he's unstable.
Wow.
One brother that I admired, and I really wanted to get the chance to talk to him, 999. Herman Cain.
Wow. Yeah.
I disagreed with 99.9% of it.
Yeah.
But that brother took Godfather Pizza
Mm.
from nothing
Yeah.
into a multi-million-dollar business.
Mm.
I wanted to know his economic skills.
Mm.
I could have sat and spoke to him.
Mm.
As much as I am who I am, I could have sat and talked to him about economics.
Wow.
About how do you take a fledgling corporation, company, and make it into a multi-million-dollar business? And not just that, when I had a chance to go down to Atlanta, I got a chance to eat Godfather Pizza on the road. Because we don't have Godfather Pizza up in the north here.
I didn't know that. Wow.
But down south, you do have it. Like, I think in the Carolinas, when I was heading towards Atlanta,
Yeah.
I stopped at Godfather. Man, if you like pizza, that's a good pizza.
Yeah.
So that what I'm trying to say is that we as a people have to have very critical skills. We have to have critical thinking skills.
That's right.
And my question to Kanye is, what can I do to help you, brother? Not tear you down. Our people don't need to see us fighting like this. I recognize, hey, man, inappropriate, brother. But instead of tearing the brother down, I want to know, is there something I could do that could help you? And the first thing I'd want to do is tell him the truth. Somebody need to tell the brother the damn truth.
Talk
because
about
everybody has used him. Everybody has ridden like a parasite on his back and got even the people that he was related to and even married. They just attached themselves to this multi-billionaire and just rode him into the ground. And nobody ever really helped him. Nobody was brave enough and courageous enough to tell that brother, look, brother, I got a brother like Amos Wilson that you need to talk to. You need to talk to a black man, counselor or psychiatrist or psychologist, and get your stuff together. Kanye, for all he is, he has value to us. But we're allowed to let the extended community, not of African descent, run that brother from one side of the room to the other and destroy the little bit of sanity that the brother got. We have to be critical thinkers, Caleb.
Yes, sir.
That's the point I'm trying to make more than anything else. There's a lot of folk out here that don't agree with me. There's a lot of folk out here that I don't agree with. But you can disagree without being disagreeable.
That's right.
And we have to start thinking on that level. Somebody should have helped Whitney. Somebody should have helped Prince. Somebody should have helped Michael Jackson. Somebody should have helped all of our great ones who were sucked into this supremacist system where they formed the imposter. You were born with the imposter syndrome. As you grow, you get rid of it. I got rid of it because I know the mastery of the black man and the black woman. I know what we have achieved. And I'm not just talking about Egypt. I'm not talking about Kemet or Kush. I'm talking about the plantation. There were some royal people down on the plantation.
Talk about it. Yes, sir.
And that's what I meant when I was talking about from the pyramids to the plantations, to the projects, to the promised land. We have that DNA. It is epigenetically tagged in us. We have the pyramid builders, the genius of our ancestors. And we have those that were stolen from Africa and brought to America. And their history, their language, their values, interests, and principles were stolen from them. And that was hell. And then, through our fighting and our genius, they didn't want to give us everything we deserved, so they put us in the projects, which is like purgatory.
That's right.
It's a place for us to think about our conditions. And then from there, we rise to the promised land. We got it, Caleb. Your generation got it, man.
Thank you.
In your generation, your age, there's a DNA tag in you, Caleb, that said, there's something we can do. When I was your age, that tag was in me.
Mm.
That tag was in my father when he was your age and my age. And we handed this legacy down from generation to generation. And now your generation will pass it on to the next generation.
Mm.
And every time we get there, it's like when we sing, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay?
Mm.
When you get to the second do, it's the same first do, but you're at a higher octave.
Mm.
Every generation gets higher. It gets better. And the reason why you're going through all this stuff right here now is because of that.
Mm.
The European knows their time is up. They have had over 500 years to get this damn thing straight, and they haven't been able to do it.
Wow.
They fumbled it. They built it on lies and cheating and stealing. And now the people are rising. Truth crushed to earth, surely rises again.
Mm.
And their time is up now. So now they're willing to do anything to survive.
Wow.
Time is up.
Mm.
But we get ourselves together, Caleb.
Yeah.
And that's what I plan on doing.
Mm.
And whatever I can do in terms of sharing the kind of knowledge, I don't care where you are. I spoke to a brother yesterday that got a PhD in food science.
Wow.
Okay, and he's got a sauce where he has extracted all of the harmful things in condiment. It's called num sauce.
Wow.
I have to go online. I tried to go online last night. Time didn't do it, but I'm gonna go online tonight.
Yeah.
Check num sauce. NUM sauce.
Yeah, I gotta check that out.
You can put that on your hamburgers or your French fries or whatever you're eating.
Wow.
Now, that's black owned and black run, and he got it from his granddaddy.
Mm.
That was a secret sauce in the family that he's starting to market now. Dr. Lloyd.
Wow.
Okay. So there are things that we can do. Every generation get better. We didn't have a Dr. Lloyd years ago that was putting things together, but now we do.
Yes.
And I was telling the brother, because he's a younger brother. He's probably your age, somewhere in there. And I was telling the brother, can you imagine what the next generation, that the young people that can sit at your feet to learn what you're doing?
Mm.
Because see, Caleb, if we don't get our eating pattern in place, I don't care what you know in your brain. If it's in a sick body, you ain't going no place.
Mm.
You can be as smart as you want, but if you're sick, you ain't going no place.
That's right.
We got to get our diet together.
Mm.
I'm in the process right now of doing a minor fast with Dr. Sebi.
Wow.
Product, but with his wife, Sister Ma'at.
Wow.
And so I've been going to Dr. Sebi since 1988.
Mm.
Because I realized that with all this information I'm trying to share with the community, if I'm sick, I ain't going nowhere.
Talk about it. Yes.
We have to get our health together.
Mm.
And I understand the foods that we ate, man. I put away more pork in my life. I mean, I used to judge a city by how their ribs were. I ate cold pig feet, pickled pig feet. I used to eat pig feet that used to be up on bar. When you go to the bar, they had pig feet on the bar.
Wow.
Okay. Hot pig feet, chitlins. Oh my goodness. Yeah, man, I ate that. Woke up, ate bacon.
Wow.
But then once I knew better, I had to do better.
That's right.
So I don't stand in judgment of our people. Because there was a time when I was kicking them ribs, man.
I hear you.
And enjoying it, because it's all in the sauce anyway. I was one of the early people who used to eat crack down on McRibs.
Wow.
So I don't come as a saint. I've done it. I got history. But once you know better, you do better.
Mm.
And so now that I know there's a num sauce, now that I know that there was an ancient aura clothing jewelry line, 3150, Nubia. Nubia is down there in Atlanta.
Wow.
Also, You know, you also have the other company down there that does Afriletics.
Wow.
Right there in Atlanta.
Gotta check them out.
Afriletics, Afriletics, 3150 is in Atlanta. Bring all these folk together.
Yeah.
Just like I'm so, happy, brother, happy to hear that you and brother Chase McGee is kicking it together.
Yeah.
To support each other, the things that you do are similar, but nobody does it like Caleb, and nobody does the voice of the ancestors like Chase.
That's right.
Y'all got your own thing. When
That's
you
right.
cooperate as opposed to compete,
Mm-hmm.
both of you win.
Yeah.
We got to come together.
Yeah.
And realize that it is in cooperation. Finding out what he does, finding out what you do, him improving his stuff through your influence, you improving your stuff through his influence, together. And then you create your communication syndication.
That's right.
You have your own channels. They've had me off Instagram for a while now. And I'm not upset. I expect it. In fact, I'm surprised they didn't grab me sooner. If I was them, I would do the same thing. I have 126,000 followers. And I ain't got a blue check.
It's crazy.
It's all about the hard work and getting the message out to the people. And they understand. See, black folk know success. We've been bamboozled. Every kind of game that could be played on us has been played on us.
That's right.
We've written books on the hustle. But we also know when someone's coming from the heart. There's something in the melanin that lets us know, no, that brother's real. And that is what's happened in terms of the work that I'm doing. People have come to realize, no, man, this brother's real.
That's right.
And I don't ask people to believe me. Watch me. Let me be the first to tell you, don't believe a word I say. Go to my website, kabakamene.com. Check out my study guide. Check out my free e-course. Just check it out. My book, Spirituality Before Religions.
Yeah.
Don't believe me? Go on Amazon and look at the reviews.
Yes.
Look at what people are saying about the book.
Yes.
And let me be the judge. I don't want to sell it. I want people who have been impacted by it to sell it. Same thing with Shabaka Stone. Same thing with Professor William Leo Hansberry. I'm about ready to bring out a children's book on Shabaka Stone sometime before the end of Shabaka Stone for children. Don't believe me. I don't write books because I'm a writer. I write books because I got something to say.
Yes.
So we just got to get this together, Brother Caleb.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm
What
just, sitting back, analyzing things, right? Just seeing. And I think something that you said that was so poignant was collaboration over competition. And I think for me, I've never been able to grasp that concept of why us as melanated people sometimes, especially, here in America, feel like we have to compete with each other when we can go so much further together. So I think it's just, me just trying to analyze and see how we can come as one and really just make this process even faster of being where we need to be even sooner. And I guess I can ask as well, how do we fight that concept, right? And I know that probably derives from the plantation of not trying to see a person that's just like you, who looks like you, who's doing similar things as someone who's a threat. Instead of, this person is a tool, just like I'm a tool for them, so we can overcome this system that's rigged against us.
Well, one thing is that if you want to go back to Kanye, okay, brother jumped out with a White Lives Matter t-shirt with Candace Owens.
Yeah.
Everybody got upset, but ain't nobody did anything about it. But when he started to attack European people, then Adidas had to cut him.
Talk about it. Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't matter what he did to black folk. And if that can't be something that we look at and understand from a deeper perspective, they taught us from when we were first born out of our mother's womb to first hate ourselves and then hate each other. Don't trust each other. And for some of us, not all, that's what we've done. We have not trusted each other. And because there was a scarcity of any type of material things on the plantation, we fought over scraps. And that's what we're doing now. We're fighting over scraps. We're fighting all over the crumbs. And none of us realize we built the city that the bakery was on that baked the cake.
Wow.
But we settling for the crumbs. I want to own the city where the bakery is that baked the cake. I don't want no crumbs. I don't want a slice. I don't want a cake. I don't want the bakery. I want the city. And if we could focus and think on that level of what we want and what we rightfully deserve, ain't nobody giving us reparations.
Yeah.
We get back what we deserve. This ain't somebody gonna be out of the kindness of their heart. We built this country. We built this house. The land that we built the house on was stolen from indigenous people.
Sir.
And through our work, we built the house. Immigrants that came here, they helped to furnish the house. But they didn't build it.
That's right.
And it wasn't their land that it was built on. I give you credit for, I like the couch. I like the paintings on the wall. But none of that would be here if we didn't first build a house. There would be no wall to put those paintings on. There would be no floor to put the couch on. African Americans built America. The land was stolen from indigenous people.
That's right.
And a lot of them indigenous people were black people. So let's not get that confused either. And I know that I have been challenged by members of the indigenous American community. But their problem with me is that I have 5 nations that run through my veins. 3 from the Northeast and 2 from the Southeast. So don't hand me that nonsense.
That's right.
And the indigenous people, the original indigenous people, didn't even look like me. They look more like a person of short stature, melanated, wide nose, thick lip, people we call the Twa Mbuti, Khoisan, or derogatorily, they're called pygmies.
That's right.
So I don't even look like the original. I'm close to them in melanation. But in so many different ways, the original people here did not look like most of the people. They were somewhere between 3'8" and 5'2". And so when we talk about the indigenous people, the people that we see today as indigenous people, they are the 5th migration of human beings that came to this part of the world. And they came during the Asian invasions, it's called. Genghis Khan and others. They pushed Asians down into Canada, across the Bering Strait in Russia. And that's how they came here. And then they traveled further south. But the further south you go, the people are the browner. And when you get to South America, they black.
Come on. Yes.
This is just history and science. And they say to me, well, you're excluding me. No, you're excluding yourself. Because what I'm actually saying is that you have the blood of those original people in you through cross-fertilization of peoples in this part of the world for thousands of years. You have them. You're the one denying your ancestry. I'm only trying to get you to see your ancestry. But we are so caught up in this. You talk like they have presented Africa as not a very good place.
That's right.
And so what I attempt to do is try to make people proud to be African. Be proud of the width of your nose and the shape of your lips and the texture of your hair and the melanation in your skin.
Mm.
Be proud of that. And understand that that is where all life came from.
Mm.
And if it wasn't for that, there would be no this. So me, I just say, let's just get it together.
Yeah.
And have deep conversations. But first we have to get ourselves together.
Mm. Wow. I love that. Yes, sir. Hearing you say we built the house, that's so true, because being on the phone with you, hearing you talk about our culture, who we are, and us taking credit for what we do, whether it's in hip hop, whether it's in science, mathematics, us knowing our culture. And so often growing up, I would hear people say that Black Americans, that we don't have a culture. But after more studies and growing up, maturing, I see, like we are the culture itself. How do you feel sometimes when you see people try to demean who we are as foundational Black Americans?
I see them as being very having an inferiority complex.
Mm.
And their attempt at demeaning African Americans is only because they realize how great we really are.
Mm.
Because if you were a humane being, if you saw a people who didn't have anything, you would attempt to help them, not push them down.
Mm.
So understanding the role that we've played in history, even on the plantation, that was a classical African civilization. That was royalty right there.
Wow.
See, it's going to how you define royalty, what royalty is. What we went through as a people, when you study it. Right now, brother, I am reading the book, The Delectable Negro.
Hmm.
And that's blowing my mind, brother. Because that's a part of our experience on a plantation that a lot of us have very serious problems facing. We have a very serious challenge having to conjure up those memories. I'm speaking about intergenerationally, because we may not be going through it, but somewhere in our heritage, we had ancestors that did go through this.
Mm-hmm.
The psychosexual homoerotic experience that not just the Black woman had, but the Black man had at the hands of these demons. And to think that in spite of that and despite that, we were able to come to where we are right now, talking to each other, Caleb and Kaba. Mm-hmm. To think that we were able to overcome that makes you a classical African civilization in every sense of the word. And I think that when I hear people talk, I tell them, you know something? Like, you're dumb. And I really don't have time to talk to you.
Mm.
Because if that's where you're going to come from with me, then what can we say to each other?
Mm.
You don't know my history. If you do know my history, you don't want to face it.
Mm.
So either way, I ain't got nothing to say to you. Because I want to talk to people that understand what we've done. And can understand what we can do. And then most importantly, let's do it together. So I've avoided distractions. That's one of my hashtags. No distractions. And there will be people that will try to put you down. But when you know how great you are,
Yes.
nothing they say can touch you. Can't, MC Hammer can't touch this.
Yeah.
Okay? Talk to the hand. You can't touch this.
Yeah.
What our sisters have gone through historically, through the genes, queens.
Mm.
Queens in the highest sense of the word queen, if you want to use that word. We can use Hemet Neset Waret. We can use whatever word we want, but whatever is a classical female energy, our Black women have been that and have done that. And we as Black men must respect them.
Mm-hmm.
And they must respect themselves. You can't ask someone else to respect you if you don't respect yourself. Mm-hmm. We as Black men cannot ask others to respect us if we are not respecting ourselves. And when you respect yourself, most folk will leave you alone. Mm-hmm. They found that when sisters dress in Muslim garb, or if they dress in African garb, most brothers don't say a word to them on the street. Mm-hmm. That's derogatory. And I'm not saying that it's a matter of respect, how you dress. What I'm just saying is people's perceptions of how they're going to approach you changes according to how you present yourself to the world. And we as Black men, okay, our perception has a lot to do with this. But first we have to respect ourselves. But to do that, you got to know your history. And so I know people have a lot to say. Instagram is a very interesting thing, Brother Caleb. I learn a lot about people on Instagram by their comments. And something that I've learned sometimes that happens with humans is that when you say something, okay, I'm gonna stick a pin there. I'm gonna go back to why I teach brain anatomy. Right now, what I'm doing, speaking, comes from the frontal lobe of my brain, in a place known as the Broca system, BROCA. What you are doing and what the audience is doing is coming from your temporal lobe in the back underneath. It's called the Wernicke system, WERNICKE. Broca system is where speech production occurs when I'm speaking. Your comprehending what I'm saying comes from the Wernicke system. When I stop talking and you start talking, you start operating from the Broca system and I start working from the Wernicke system. Okay? I've noticed sometimes with people, when you say something, they're not listening to you. They're listening to what they're thinking. And then they'll tell you something that has nothing to do with what you just said.
Yeah.
And that's when I say, you missed my point. Because what you were doing in your Wernicke system was not comprehending my speech. You were comprehending the speech in your head. And now you're going to tell me that I said that. I didn't say that. And so I've noticed that as a people, and as a people of cross cultures, we look but we don't see. We hear but we don't listen. We sniff but we don't smell. We think but we don't know.
Yeah.
In other words, all of our senses have another sense to it. It's a spiritual sense. You have 3 eyes, 2 physical, 1 spiritual, third eye. You have 3 ears, 2 physical, 1 spiritual. Grandma said, you hear what I'm talking about? She ain't talking about these ears.
Mm.
She's talking about comprehension and understanding.
Mm.
You see what I'm talking about? She's not talking about these eyes. She's talking about your third eye. Have you ever tasted something that's not in your mouth?
Wow.
Felt something that didn't touch you? You have two skins, two tongues, three ears, three nostrils, three eyes, two brains. Because thinking is a skill. And I think as a people, one of the things that was taken from us is our ability to understand that third or that second aspect of the spiritual sense that we have. And they took that from us because they took us being from Africa. And when we lost our culture, we lost our spiritual common sense.
Mm.
And all of our decisions are coming out in favor of other people.
Wow.
Like a log and a swimmer. A log is, you put it in a water, turbulent water, and the wave come, push the log that way.
Mm.
Another wave on the other side come, push it over the other side. Wave come from up, push it down. Wave from down, push it up. But a swimmer can swim through the wave, can use his or her body to move away from the current, the force, and be able to control the direction in which they're going.
Mm.
A log cannot.
Mm.
So I ask our people, are you a log or are you a swimmer?
Mm.
Somebody's going to jump on Bill Cosby. Somebody's going to jump on Kanye West. Somebody's going to jump on Michael Jackson. I could go through the list of people that they've jumped on. And all we do is just go with the log. We're pushed around. Wherever the wind blows us is where we fly.
Mm.
We're not critical thinkers. That's what Malcolm X was trying to get us to understand. Think for yourself. Particularly your generation. But in many ways, I have a lot of faith in your generation. Because y'all are doing it.
Mm.
In a lot of different ways. Y'all are doing it. And I guess my generation did it too. And I would imagine my father's generation. But every generation, remember that do, re, fi, ma, sol, la, ti, do. Every time you get to the second do, it's the same do as the first one, but it's at a higher octave. I think every generation has taken it to the next level.
Mm.
And there have always been those that have stayed behind. On the plantation, there were Africans that gave up being free because they were guard posts for the Underground Railroad. And they knew how to guide other Africans through the Underground Railroad.
Mm.
And they knew that if they left their post, somebody might not get free.
Wow.
So they were willing to give up their freedom, remain enslaved,
Mm.
in order to be the conductors on the Underground Railroad. There were those like Harriet Tubman and others that took the people to the north.
Right.
But there were other guideposts on the plantations who had dug holes where the people could go down, had food down there for them when they got there.
Wow.
And the Underground Railroad always traveled, interesting, astronomically. The Underground Railroad almost always started around the winter solstice,
Mm.
when the nights were the longest. So you had more time on the road to travel in the dark.
Mm.
So they normally always started just before the holiday. Let's call it Christmas for now.
Wow.
And they always traveled at night. And there were those on the plantations from south to north that knew where to send people. And we have had great opportunity for brothers and sisters who could have gone on the Underground Railroad and left us behind. Been able to get a good job, good money. Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, Asa Hilliard. These are all folk that could have gone and taught history and taught language arts and taught things on a different level and made buku bucks. But they chose to stay on the plantation so that we could get through. I look forward to the time when there's no plantation and that we be free wherever we are. But right now, we're not.
Mm.
And right now is probably the most critical time. Because now they know that we know their time is up.
Mm.
And we're about to take this bad boy back.
Yes, sir.
We don't need everybody. I'm looking for 3 out of 100.
Mm.
I'd like there to be more.
Yeah.
But it appears to me that people are making choices in their life that is not conducive to liberation and emancipation.
Mm.
I love you dearly. I just don't have time for you right now.
Mm.
Because I'm talking to Brother Caleb.
Mm.
And I'm talking to all the people that are following your work. I'm talking to all the other brothers and sisters that I've had the great pleasure of being on their program, particularly the young family. Because this information has to get to y'all.
Yeah.
You are the caretakers of the future.
Mm.
And we have to be talking to you. Who is talking to the young brothers out here? Everybody talk about, well, they don't vote. Well, have you gone to ask them to vote?
No. Yeah. No.
You know, have you stood on a corner where the brothers are congregated? And
Mm.
look, man, I'm running for city council.
Mm.
I see y'all hanging out here all the time. I want to build a place where y'all can go.
Mm.
It's cold now. I don't want you to free.
Mm.
Brothers are outside. They're on the sidewalk. Okay. People that are passing by have to go around them.
Yeah.
And people going to complain.
Yeah.
But are we complaining to people that have not built someplace where they can be, where they don't have to be in the street?
That's right.
Where they can have their own teen center or their own youth center or their own adolescent center or maybe a 21, 22, 23-year-old center.
Yeah.
Not just youth. The 28, 29, 30-year-olds. Where can they go? And now you're going to ask for their vote. Then you're going to complain because they don't vote. But you ain't done nothing to impress them to vote for you.
Right.
Nobody's talking to them. I see them constantly, brother. These are my son's friends, my daughter's friends, that they grew up. Some of them was up in my house. Okay, when they were young.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, well, did you offer them a job? Did you say you had something for them to be able to do that they can make some money?
Mm.
For those that may not have had a dad at home, were you their father?
Mm.
There's brothers out here. The other day, I when I go from where I live to my garage, I pass all the young brothers in the street, right? And hey, brothers, what's going on? You know, hey, pops, what's happening? You know,
Yeah.
because that's who I've been to them. Pops, Brother Kaba.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't stand on the corner and lecture them, but I always respected them. Ra means to look in a divine light. Spec means to look. Respect means to look at them, acknowledge them, accept them, approve them. I know you, I see you. Instead of complaining about them. They are our children. Yeah, they rolling blunts out there. At least they're not going to go to prison for it.
That's right.
But they are rolling blunts. But the thing is, have we done anything to fill their day with things that they could do to make themselves better and the community better?
Mm.
So even with this voting thing, how I feel about it, I have my own views towards voting. But have the politicians gone to them for their vote? And if you haven't, then you don't have a right to complain.
That's right.
They say voting is a right, which is true. But getting their vote is a privilege that you must work towards.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
And there was one time, there was a brother, clean looking brother, very intelligent. It was primary day, a couple years back. And the brother came up to me when I was going towards the poll. Well, I'd already voted, to tell you the truth. I was coming out of the poll. And he had said to me, you know, I hope you vote for me. I said, well, who are you?
I feel you.
And I said, but brother, why did you wait until voting day to come out here? Why don't you stand right where you are right now and just open your mouth and talk to us? Why didn't you just go up to those young brothers and say, yo, listen, I got a plan for y'all. Here's what I got an idea for. There are some rooms up in this complex here that are open and free. There are things that we can start to do. We can start doing computer classes. We can start doing job search for you. But I need to get into the city council, or I need you to vote for me for your congressperson. Can I get your vote? Okay, so you blunt. Okay, so put the blunt down, go up there and vote. Come back, pick the blunt up. But vote.
Right.
I'm being real, Caleb.
Yeah.
This is very real to me. You can drink all you want. You drinking all that alcohol. Oh, okay, fine. Okay, but put the bottle down. Go up and vote, and then come back and pick the bottle back up again. You know, back in the day, there was a brother in Harlem. His name was Clarence 13X. He had been impacted by Malcolm X and by the Honorable Elijah. Clarence 13X was kicked out of the nation around the same time that Malcolm was. But the reason why Clarence 13X was kicked out, according to my research, was because he saw there were brothers and sisters in the community that were on the way to the right track, that would stop and listen to him talk and ask good questions. But they were still drinking. They were still eating pork. They were still smoking cigarettes. But they had hope. And Clarence 13X wanted to bring them into the nation and then clean them up. But in the nation, no. No pork, you know, no liquor, no dancing, you know, none of that. All of our people ain't ready for that. They may one day be ready for that. But they're not ready for that right now. And so I'm trying to be as practical as I possibly can be, talking to our people. Okay? And I'm trying to work it so that we can inch our way towards our liberation and emancipation for some of us. And there are some of us that are already on the way there. But I'm saying, don't forget them. Because if Elijah had given up on Malcolm, because he drank, and he smoked, he did a lot of things, but they didn't give up hope on him. And see what he became. You see who he became. And of course, Minister Clarence 13X became Father Allah, birth to the 5 percenters.
That's right.
Who gave birth to Jay-Z. And to others. The way I got onto the Wu-Tang album was through mathematics. Because I understand the divine, supreme, I understand divine math and supreme science. And so what I'm dropping is that type of information that folk who have the ears to hear and the voice to speak understand what I'm saying. And to me, it just becomes very important that we continue this process.
Wow. That was beautiful. Dr. Kaba, you've been so gracious with your time. One of my last few questions, probably have 2 to 3 more, is the plantation. You've been highlighting that, and I'm so appreciative because, again, you know, so many times we can highlight Kemet, or we could try to talk about the present or our future, but we often want to overlook slavery, right? And being here, you know, in the South, in Atlanta, people don't understand. Once you drive 30 minutes outside of the city, you have plantations that are still upright. You have cotton fields. And even just driving past it, walking around it, you can still feel that aura, those spirits. And oftentimes from being able to talk to you hear you say something that I apply towards myself now. Anytime I feel like it's something challenging, or if I'm having a tough day, tough situation, I think about my ancestors who were on the plantation.
Mm.
So with us trying to be prepared for our future to the promised land, how do we tap in and use that energy and not overlook our ancestors from the plantation as well?
Oh man, I have such a regard for them
Yeah.
in every aspect of their existence, and what they have done and what they did. It's a profound respect for them. And like I often tell people, if I even dream I'm having a hard time, I wake up and apologize.
Mm.
Because again, when you study the history of the plantation, when you read The Slave Community by Blassingame, when you read the works of the slave narratives, like I told you, right now I'm reading The Delectable Negro.
Right.
Read the books on slave breeding and what they did to us. And you understand our struggle, our achievements, our near achievements, and things that we just did not achieve. There's a profound respect that comes upon you to understand that those ancestors dwell within you. If I took you back 500 years, there's a brother that got his PhD in math. There's a brother that he and I spoke years ago when he was going through the process of getting his PhD. And I was talking to him about my concepts of math. Well, he called me after he got his PhD. And I talked to him about what I'm about to tell you. And he said to me, well, there is a formula. There isn't necessarily a name for it, but there is a formula in mathematics that you're applying. And it's called the exponential expansion equation, E to 3. Exponential expansive equation. And what that says is that you have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents. And then you go back to your great-great-grandparents, great-great-great-grandparents. And there's a mathematical formula for this. That if you were to plug in the values for those ancestors, if I took you back 500 years, if I took you back to 1522, from 1522 until 2022, when you think about your ancestors, and you thinking that you're alone, for you to come into existence, doing the math, and I thank Ancestral Footprints for them bringing this to my attention, you would have 1,048,576 human beings came into existence to bring you into existence. That's how many ancestors you have in you for the past 500 years. What happened if I took you back 5 million? 1,048,576 over 500 years through the exponential expansion equation. That's math. That's not personal. That's that's not trying to make things grandiose. That's just doing a math problem. So those ancestors made it possible for us to be here. And if nothing else, we don't owe them anything. We owe our children They did what they did. I tell people, I don't do what I do for my ancestors. I do what I do through my ancestors for the children, in the hope that they will do for their children. I don't pay back. I pay forward. So when I think of what our ancestors went through, and okay, I'm going to tell you another story, okay? And people get on my case. I was trying not to do it, but I had to do it. I had to stop playing R. Kelly's music. And it just bothered me, man. But I had to do it for a lot of different reasons. I have my own. I know how to separate the genius of the man from the life of the man. They're just decisions that you have to make. But the reason why I say this is because I used to teach at Rikers Island, prison here in New York.
Yeah.
And I know, my brother Caleb, you probably know all these stories because I've done this interview with you for quite a
Look,
while.
I love them.
For those that may not know the story,
yeah,
I was asked to participate and sort of kind of help them develop for the high school students, because they have a high school in Rikers Island. They asked me if I would help coordinate a right to pass program.
Yeah.
And so I developed this right to pass program. This was back in the 90s. And in developing this program, all of the young brothers who were incarcerated had something to do, they all took part in the activity. And it happened in the chapel. Okay. And there was this one brother that his contribution to the ceremony was to sing. This was in the 90s now, before all this happened with R. Kelly. I Believe I Can Fly. And I was sitting there. Now, he didn't sound like R. Kelly at all. The brother sounds sad. I'll tell you that right now. But the quality of what I experienced was in the fact that he sounded the way he did. Because when you listen to those words in prison, in a prison, because to me, the Christian chapel, my bad, I got to say it, was a prison in the prison. In fact, there are some people that go to church out here now and you're in prison, but that's a whole side story. I'll leave that alone for now. Some are not, but some are.
Yeah.
But when I listened to those words of I Believe I Can Fly, it transported me back onto a plantation in the 1700s. And those words became so clearer to me. And I encourage us to just look at the words and think of being on a plantation, and that's what somebody's singing. I came to an understanding that when I began to hear those words, and I'm looking out at the chapel with these young brothers out here, and I'm listening to these words, and the brother don't sound like R. Kelly. All of a sudden, I came to realize that when our ancestors called out to their God for help, they were manifesting us into existence. And I came to realize that the work that I'm doing now, I am manifesting our future children yet that are born. I'm manifesting them into existence by what I am saying, what we're doing right now, Brother Caleb. We are manifesting our future. They don't understand that. They never understood what they were doing when they did what they did. They were manifesting a Homo perfectus, a super sapien, into existence. I have advantages that our ancestors did not.
That's right.
But the advantages I have are directly attributable to what they did. I am on their shoulders. And if you see me, it's because they've hoisted me on their shoulders, and you see me. Otherwise, I'd be behind the fence. You wouldn't see me. But because we are on the shoulders of our ancestors, our children are looking at us. We are manifesting the future through understanding the past. And whatever language we speak now, as it relates to English, there is no such thing. Well, there is such a thing. They call it slave talk. But can you imagine the greatness of a Igbo, Yoruba, Kuba from Congo, speaking their own basic language, yet learning English as they did?
Right.
And to be able to use it in a way that they could sing gospel songs and at the same time be masking their emancipation and liberation. Our brothers and sisters in Brazil masking a martial arts in dance.
Yeah.
That's powerful. When you go to the Dominican Republic, our brothers and sisters, there is a very popular dance and music called merengue. That dance came into existence because when they stole Africans from Africa and brought them to San Domingo, which is Haiti and the Dominican Republic combined, when they would work them in the sugar fields or in whatever plantation they were working, they chained the Africans ankle to ankle, one right ankle to the next enslaved person's left ankle. And to pass the time, they would dance in the field. They put their hips into it. And that struggle to pass the time of pain became the merengue. We are a phenomenal people.
That's right.
Who do the very best that we can in the times that we're living. That's why don't put us down. I know we're all doing the best we can with what we have, whatever it may be. I often say grandma was close to Jesus. You know, they gave Jesus three fish and 2 loaves of bread. He fed thousands of people. Our grandma did the same thing. She could take potatoes, onions, rhubarb, whatever that she had, and she could feed the community. That's a genius. Okay, wasn't nobody going to Harvard, you know, wasn't nobody getting degrees. But they had PhDs in life, man. My daddy used to say, you know, sometimes when I would think I was being slick, he said, man, you so slick, you don't pass yourself sliding. And I think sometimes we get so haughty. Malcolm X said, never forget, there was a time that you acted a certain way when you didn't know this. So don't be getting cute with yourself now that you know a little something. And now you're looking back at your people, talking to them. Because remember how you were when you didn't know it. And that's how I see our ancestors. They may not have had all the things that they had or should have had, but they did the best they could with what they had. Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop didn't have a Sheikh Anta Diop. He did the best that he could. John Henry Clark didn't have a John Henry Clark. Arturo Schomburg, J.A. Rogers, Shashi McIntyre. I could go through the list of all of our great peoples. They did not have what we had. I have the ability to study Sheikh Anta Diop's work, Dr. John Henry Clark's work, J.A. Rogers' work. Now I'm able to take it to the next level. David Imhotep was able to take the work of Dr. Ivan Van Sertima to the next level in honor of what Dr. Van Sertima did. I went to Mexico with Dr. Van Sertima.
Wow.
I experienced a month in Mexico with Dr. Van Sertima. He took 40 of us. Brilliant Guyanese brother. Brilliant. changed the course of history in so many different ways, impacted so many of us. I took his work and I created curricula. David Imhotep took his work and now brought Africans back to 120,000 years on the American continent. And we have other scholars that are doing great work. They're taking the best that they have. The work that I'm doing, I'm correct. But I know I could be more accurate. But that's for the future generations. I don't have in my lifetime to do what needs to be done. There'll be people 30, 40, 50 years from now that may look at my work and say, you know, that brother was correct, but now we're going to make that more accurate. So they're going to take my work to the next level. There'll be those that follow them that will take their work and take it to the next level. Remember the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Okay? Same do, higher octave.
Yeah.
I take their work to the next level. Others will take my work to the next level. I know there's room for me to be more accurate. I can see in what I'm doing. There's room for more accuracy. I just don't have the time to get accurate because I'm doing other things. So I think that as we move forward, brother, these are the things that we'll do. Step by step, little by little. Don't frustrate yourself. Anything past your best is stress. And stress will kill you. And then what good did it do?
Wow. Phenomenal. Dr. Kaba, very last question. You killed this. I had a phenomenal time as usual. Shabaka Stone, you know, that was a phenomenal read. You know, just talking about how we can use our past to impact our future, and knowing that even during that time, to go back thousands of years before them to apply the information that they learned to perfect it, like what you said. And out of darkness, heavy is the crown. Same concept. Amadeus Christ, friend of the show, phenomenal brother, genius as well when it comes to filmmaking. You killed it, of course, on there as well. And here you talk about ma'at and balance. How do we apply ma'at and balance and the concepts learned from Shabaka Stone as well to impact our future towards the promised land?
I think that ma'at is the basic principle that we live our life by. Ma'at is truth, justice, harmony, balance, order, arrangement, reciprocity. And when we apply those, particularly reciprocity is one of my favorite. See, we know truth and justice. We know what that is. Harmony, balance, we know. Order and arrangement, we know. Reciprocity. The idea of knowing that what go around, come around. To know that you shall reap what you sow. If a human being knew that what he or she did would come back on them, really believed it, they would think twice before they did a lot of the things that they do.
Right.
And if you knew that at the intensity of what you did, good or not good, it would come back on you sevenfold. Whatever you did is going to come back on you 7 times with the intensity that you did it in the first place. You'd be careful before you hit somebody, knowing that there was going to be a punch come back to you 7 times as hard as what you hit.
That's right.
And if you gave somebody a gift that would transform their life, that gift would come back on you 7 times to transform your life. You sometimes would be more prone to give a gift than a punch. If you really believed. So when I see how people act, and I think of reciprocity, it's like when I talk to children, I have a rubber ball and I'm standing in front of a wall. And I say to the children, how many of you do I have to convince that if I throw this ball up against the wall, it's going to come back? The children say, oh, no, it's going to come back. Because they know the principles of rubber and the wall, the laws of physics. Well, the same thing holds for reciprocity. It's cosmic physics. You shall reap what you sow in one way or another. And so in applying ma'at to our life, as we move through life and we have those thoughts, they say you think ma'at, speak ma'at, you do ma'at. That was the life path. You think ma'at, you speak ma'at, you do ma'at. Ma'at's husband or counterpart, because ma'at is a female energy. Her male counterpart is Tehuti,
Right.
who is wisdom, knowledge. And when you think of that balance of the righteous path of ma'at, it is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that puts you on the path.
Mm.
You can't be on the path if you don't have the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And you can't have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding if you're not on the path.
Mm.
So there's a natural marriage. There's a natural complementary force that brings Ma'at and Tehuti together. And that is what our ancestors, no matter what they may have called her and him, when you go back into the Yoruba tradition, when you go back to the Akan tradition, when you go to Central Africa, when you go down into Namibia, into Southern Africa, the Kush and the Kemet, that is the legacy that they've left us. The harmony, balance, truth, justice. That's what the cosmos lives. They live that concept. And so in living that concept, you then make it a part of your life. And as you deal with people, and as you deal with yourself, you apply those principles. That is what built the pyramids.
Mm.
When we had a lack of that, we then went onto the plantations.
Mm.
When we made up for the plantation, we then were on or in the projects.
Mm.
Give us time to think, get our heads together. The Creator told us to say, you know, y'all know heaven. You know heaven. You talk about hell, but you don't know hell.
Mm.
So I apologize for having to do this, but I'm going to take a group of y'all out and I'm going to put you in hell.
Mm.
So that when you talk about hell, you're not talking about it theoretically. You're going to talk about it because you know it.
Mm.
And so a group of us was taken out and put on the plantations.
Wow.
But in our process of getting out of that cold cop, back in my day, we called it being cold cop. When someone come up on you and just bang, unaware.
Mm.
We're shaking our heads trying to get the cobwebs and the dizziness from being cold cop with plantation. We find ourselves, like when a boxer falls and he tries to avoid the fighter because he's just trying to get his balance back. Okay, purgatory. And then after he gets his senses back and he gets his balance back, then he goes back into fighting. Well, that's the promised land.
Mm.
When we get to the promised land, we will be in a better position than the pyramid builders. Because we will have had the experience, as much as we may not want to do it, we will have had the experience of being in hell.
Mm.
And we'll have the experience to know that no human being should ever live like this, ever again. Nobody, I don't care who it is, nobody should live like this.
Mm.
But you got to go through that process. Dr. King, I've often heard him say, he quotes Dante. And he says that the hottest part of hell is reserved for those who knew better but didn't do better.
Wow.
The hottest part of hell isn't even for the people that did it. It's reserved for the people who knew better but didn't. And this is where we are right now. And we as an African people are the one people very uniquely placed in the world, if not in America, to be able to right this wrong. Nobody has been through what we've been through in America. Nobody has. The reason why every immigrant comes to this country is because of what the African American did to make them be able to benefit for a better life. We did it through our blood, our sweat, our tears, and our lives. We did this. The foundational Black American, the African American, the Moorish American, whatever we want to call ourselves. We did this. And still we rise. And still we have the capacity to get on 3 milli iPod. And to be able to talk to our people in a way to encourage them to understand what we have to do for the future. That's powerful, brother Caleb. You know, and I'm just proud of the work that you're doing. I'm proud of the direction that you're heading.
Thank you.
And I just want you to know that you're on the right track.
Thank you.
You just keep on keeping on. And know that the work that you're doing is making an impact on other people's lives.
Thank you.
And in time, as you mature and as you continue to do this work in whatever capacity you may do it, the fruits of your labor will come back sevenfold. I know, because I lived it. It took a long time for me to get where I am now. But I never gave up. And I never thought it was hopeless. For as long as I breathe, and as long as you breathe, you are hope. So, hope stands at the doorway of failure. Success is when you walk through.
Wow.
So even hope has its place. You know, they say keep hope alive. Okay, I'm going to keep hope alive, but hope is at the door of failure. You can hope all you want. It's not until you do something that you go through the door and then you have success.
Wow.
You got it, man. You got it. And the greatest fear that they have is that you know.
That's right.
That's my greatest threat to white supremacy. I know I am great. My greatness doesn't make me greater than somebody else. Just makes me great. And if I can make somebody great, I'll do what I can to make you great. Because I'm comfortable in my greatness. That's what Dr. Gabriel Yibo told me. He said, own your greatness. That flips the imposter syndrome. Know you're great. But at the same time, that greatness doesn't make you greater than somebody else. Your competition, like when we're talking about to work together cooperatively, I believe in competition. But the competition that I believe in is that because I've had this phenomenal, wonderful opportunity with you today, I'm a better person than I was yesterday. And whatever I can get from this experience with you and the audience that is in tune with us is going to help me become greater tomorrow than I am today. So my competition is not with another person, it's with me.
Right.
I strive to be a better person every day than who I was the day before. And in that greatness, I share with other great people to be able to make them, in whatever way I can, complement that greatness. That's ma'at.
Mm.
Think ma'at. Speak ma'at. Do ma'at.
Mm.
So you keep doing what you're doing, Brother Caleb. Your generation is going to make a difference.
Thank you.
You're going to do the best you can with what you got.
Yeah. Wow.
No stress. Work hard.
Yeah.
Don't labor. Just work.
Mm.
Keep on keeping on.
Yes, sir.
It ain't no till we win, brother.
That's right.
Solar power is the future wealth of the planet. Teach the
Mm.
children solar power. A civilization is only as great as the source of their energy.
Mm.
And I encourage those that are listening, please go to my website, www.kabakamene.com, KABAKAMENE.com. And go to my Instagram page. I call it the Meeting at the African Square.
Mm.
It's where I have my community bulletin board, where I tell people where I'm going and the things that I'm doing. You go to the link, I have different things, my streaming system and my books that I've written. And be on the lookout for my next book, Shabaka Stone for Children.
Yeah.
And we just gonna make this happen, man.
That's it. That's it. Elder, you already know I say this all the time, but I truly mean it. We appreciate you. We love you. Beyond grateful for your time, your presence, your wisdom, understanding, and your love. Thank you always. So you always have a home here. And of course, as said before, anytime you're back in Atlanta, I got you. So
No doubt. Looking forward to it, brother.
Yes, sir.
We gonna go down to Slutty Vegas and get something to eat.
Oh yeah. Hey, you already know about it. Yep. You know about the spot. Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. And
no doubt. And for those that are in the DMV area,
yeah.
Maryland and Washington, D.C. and Virginia, I'll be with our brother Tariq Nasheed at the Reparations. So if you want more information, you can go to rallyforreparations.com.
Yeah.
More information. We'll be at Freedom Plaza.
Yeah. And that's on November, correct?
November 5th, Saturday,
Yeah.
November 5th.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get the opportunity, come on out. We got some things we got to talk about. We have to get what we talk about when we talk about reparations. We have to get that clear.
Mm-hmm.
Because once we understand what it is, then we can understand what we want. But more importantly, we can understand what we want to do with it. So we're going to keep on doing this, brother. And I love us. I love you, Brother Caleb. You keep doing what you do. I'm proud of you.
Jay, thank you. Humbled by that. I received that, Elder. Keep doing what you're doing as well. We love you. Keep killing it. And you always have our full support. So we appreciate you again. You be safe. Your son as well. He does amazing work.
Yes.
Your family, everybody. So we appreciate you. Be safe. Enjoy, the rest of the evening, your family, everyone as well. And you have a wonderful week. Thank you.
Brother.
Yes,
All
sir.
power.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Peace.